The validity of the government's Foreign Influence Transparency Scheme Act will be called into question in the High Court as Andrew Cooper, now you'll remember he's the president of LibertyWorks, that's the mob who hosted last year's CPAC conference, Conservative Political Action Conference in Australia, as he takes his case to the High Court. Mr Cooper was the first person ordered to hand over documents and threatened with jail under the Act. He was also joined in the legal action by Tony Abbott. Tony Abbott told them to bugger off and the letter sort of fell away. But he joins me now from Brisbane. Andrew, I tell you what, taking the federal government to the High Court is no mean feat, but it's a big matter of principle for you, isn't it?
It is, Peter. Look, I'm off the hook. The FITS scheme wrote to me and said that they were no longer going to pursue me because I happen to be active in the media. But the thing is that this legislation is still sitting there, and this means that they can attack whoever they want. The legislation's poorly drafted. It gives wide-ranging Star Chamber-like powers to unelected bureaucrats in Canberra. And the political class can't go near it. They've got to just let the bureaucrats run their course, unless, of course, you're someone like Mark Dreyfus, who appears to have an ability to conduct secret meetings with them and direct those bureaucrats who they should chase.
Yeah, just on that point about Mark Dreyfus, he's the Shadow Attorney General for people watching at home that might not be across his name. I'm sure you'll know his face. He's often right at the dispatch box in question time. But it all was revealed in a Freedom of Information response from the Attorney General's department that revealed Dreyfus had, you call them secret, I call them unusual briefings with the Attorney General, the Shadow Attorney General and the department over this legislation. And not long after those briefings were held, correct me if I'm wrong, along comes this demand to you and to Tony Abbott to show just cause why you'd turn up, or you in your case host, a conservative political conference. Now, that seems to be quite extraordinary in Australia.
It was extraordinary at the time, Peter. Christina Keneally made a 10-minute speech, a diatribe in the parliamentary chamber in late July. A few days later I received, and Tony Abbott received, a suggestion that we perhaps are under foreign influence and should register with the FITS scheme, or the FITS Act. And then some weeks after that, I then got this extraordinary demand to hand over thousands of documents. Some of these documents relating to my conversations and dealings with a US congressman, with Nigel Farage, with Tony Abbott himself, and a huge array of other prominent people. I had this extraordinary demand to hand over these documents within 14 days or I faced jail. Now, I refused, and I must say that I was concerned about that. But it's only now, with this Freedom of Information material that the Institute of Public Affairs have uncovered, only now do we realise that it was Mark Dreyfus, the Shadow Attorney General, the future, potentially the future boss of this department. Only now have we seen that he's got his hand caught in the cookie jar. He's been there directing the bureaucrats and coordinating this extraordinary attack on CPAC, Tony Abbott, myself, LibertyWorks, and Conservatives and libertarians that attended that conference.
Now, my view is this is all about the politics of your organisation, of the events you hold. It's nothing more than that. I haven't seen similar action being taken against any conference of the left. There's plenty of them every given day. There's a left-wing conference rolling into one of our capital cities. This, as I said, it's a big call to go to the High Court, and it's an expensive exercise as well. How are you going to make it all happen?
Well, look, you know, Peter, we're a grassroots organisation. We're not all that large. We're run by volunteers. We've compiled an extraordinarily good legal team headed by a silk in Queensland called Peter Dunning QC. He's the immediate past Solicitor General of Queensland, has very good standing in the High Court. Got very good lawyers and junior barristers backing that. They have done an enormous favour to us in that they're going to be acting on incredibly reduced fees, but it still costs money, so we're going to have to raise some cash. What we're saying to people is if you believe in free speech, if you believe that conservatives and libertarians shouldn't be attacked by Labor and bureaucrats colluding in secret, if you believe in that, please fund this. If we can remove this legislation, we can protect free speech in this country. We can protect us from being shut down. There's a GoFundMe page that's been set up. It's if you just go to GoFundMe.com and search for Protect Free Speech in Australia, our fund will come up and you can make a small donation there, or a large one if you wish.
All right, Andrew Cooper, I'll leave it there. I'll also be interested to see if GoFundMe, as they do with other conservative causes they don't like, shuts down your page, but we'll see. We'll follow that as well. Thanks very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Peter.